welcome to Backyard Science. My name is Marilyn. I work at the Marina Library with the Monterey County Free Libraries, and today we will be answering the question, why does the wind blow? We'll also be doing a small experiment to see how the wind affects different objects, and then we'll be making our own weather vane so that we can figure out which direction the wind is coming from on any given day. Now, before we go any further, I would like you to pause the video for a few minutes and see if you can either go outside or look out the window and see if you can see the wind blowing. So you may realize that you can actually see the wind. You can see trees being blown by the wind, or maybe leaves being lifted by the wind, or even a bird up in the sky using the wind or thermals to float or fly. But we can see how the wind affects the world around us. We know that it can cool us off when it's hot. We know that it can pollinate plants like grasses. We know that it generates power for humans through windmills or wind generation power, actual electricity, or even to move sailboats. And we also know that it can cause a lot of destruction at high speeds, like what happens in hurricanes and tornadoes, or even just normal storms. With all that in mind, where does the wind come from? The answer comes from the sun. Now, the wind is actually caused by different temperatures. The sun heats land and water at different rates. So at any given time, land is hotter than the ocean or the polar ice caps. So as the sun heats up those two things, the land gets hotter faster, and the air above the land gets hotter, and it rises. Hot air rises. So then the rotation of the earth causes the cold air from the ocean to move in and replace the warm air that was once over the land. And so the rotation of the earth, and also the difference in temperature between the polar ice caps and the rest of the earth, causes wind as we know it. That's what causes cloud swirls around the earth when you look at it in pictures from space. So now let's do a little experiment to see how the wind moves certain objects. So now we're going to do a little experiment to see how the wind affects different objects. So you can use just about anything that you want. I have a linen, different foil and paper at different kind of degrees of wadded upness, a hairbrush, some small pebbles, a larger rock, and also a fork. I thought it would be interesting, and I wanted to see, the idea is to create wind and see how far they travel. I have a tape measure. You can use a ruler if you would like to be very precise and write down the numbers and the direction that things go in your nature journal. 1, 2, 3. And so we can see that the linen and the hairbrush and the rocks and the fork didn't really move at all, but all of the lighter things like the papers and the foil all did move. So that's a good thing to keep in mind when we're throwing things away. We want to make sure that all of our garbage gets put away so that it doesn't blow where it shouldn't. And actually, let's see if we can try it one more time, because if you're doing an experiment, it's good to try a couple of different times to see if your results are the same. 1, 2, 3. The paper and the other foil and everything went in a slightly different direction. Now, part of this is user error because it's difficult for me to make the wind go at the same speed each time, but it's still an interesting experiment. Also, if you have a fan or something, that would be definitely a more solid way of making wind for this experiment, but I don't have one, so this is what we got. Right, so that was the experiment. So now we're going to work on our weather vane so that you can figure out which direction the wind is coming from in your yard. We have our round piece of cardboard or poster board. I have an old photo envelope that I use. You can use a paper plate. I have some scissors. I have a disposable straw. I have a pencil that I don't mind sacrificing. And I have a paper clip, although you can also use a straight pin. I just don't have one. Mine bent. And then I have some duct tape. And I have a triangle and a flag, and those are going to be used on either side of our arrow for the weather vane. So now I'm going to set up my weather vane. You can see, so I have the directions here. I've also written the north on the bottom too, because I'm going to be looking at it from below. I did the direction, and luckily north is right along this fence for my yard, but it might be different for yours. And again, when you want to use a compass, you want to hold it flat in your hand, keep it away from any other magnets, and kind of spin it around until it matches, until the little arrow matches north, and that's the direction. That's the direction you want to orient it. So I'm going to put this up here, maybe. And again, if you want to stick this in the dirt or rocks, or you have another place that's away from buildings, you want to put your weather vane up, you definitely can. So if north is this way, then the wind is blowing towards this direction, which is west. Oop, now it's going north. All right, thanks for coming to this week's episode of Backyard Science. Now you know why the wind blows and how to measure what direction it's going in. Remember that if you want to use your weather vane for scientific purposes, you can always document what direction the wind is going at the same time every day. And then if you do that for a long enough time, then you have an idea the next year what direction the wind will be coming from as well. So whether people use this, scientists use wind direction for a lot of different purposes. In Monterey, we have a phenomenon called upwelling, which happens around kind of late winter, early spring. And it is one of the processes that's an oceanographic process, actually, that causes a lot of the diversity of life that you see here in Monterey Bay. So for upwelling to happen, very strong winds from the northwest blow, and because of the Coriolis effect, as the earth turns, it causes the wind to blow south along the California shore, and then which moves the warm water away from the surface, which gives the cold water room to go to the surface, and that brings nutrients and causes a lot of food for juvenile fish and for birds and for sea lions and a lot of other different animals that make their home in Monterey Bay at different times of the year. So that's one way that we know that how we've measured we've measured wind direction and how that affects animals and people. So I hope you learned something, and I hope that you are inspired to go make your own experiment with wind, and that you're also inspired to ask why about other things and to figure out how to figure them out. Thanks for coming, and take care, everyone. Bye.